Welcome, friends. I am so excited today to be meeting with the narrator of my newest book, Julia, which is a book about Julia Child. And I would just love for Evelyn to introduce yourself. And do you say your last name McCauley or McCauley?
McCauley.
McCauley, okay. And I just want to put a little plug in. When the book came out, I immediately started listening to the audio because I just am a huge audio reader. And I was really excited to see how Evelyn would do Julia, because if you've listened to her or had any opportunity to watch any of her cooking shows when she's alive or even on YouTube now, is her voice is very unique. And I was thinking, how is she going to do Julia's voice? But it's beautiful. And I just loved it. And I just absolutely fell in love with the way that she read the book. It made me feel like I was reading a book I didn't even write or listening to a book I didn't even write, because it just kind of transported me into the life of Julia. So thank you so much, Evelyn. And tell us who you are and all that stuff.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for the kind words. I am Evelyn McCauley, obviously. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have been a voice actor for about 4 years. My background, as far as it relates to that, is I'm a trained opera singer, trained actor. I went to a performing arts high school. I honestly believe I was born singing. My mother was an opera singer.
Wow.
My sister sings. So that's sort of the legacy of it. But I didn't actually discover voice acting as a career until 3 guesses, the pandemic.
Wow.
Because we couldn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And so I took some training, and I still work with a lot of different coaches. That never ends. But I knew going into voice acting that audiobooks was going to be my jam.
Yeah.
I love to read. I love to act. I'm thankfully really good at what they call long form, which means anything that's longer than a few minutes. I don't make a lot of mistakes, which is the gift of being a musician, because you have to be able to read ahead while you're narrating. And boy, being a musician has come in handy there.
Wow.
And I just love it. I work from home. It's a rare thing if I go into a studio, and that's true for most voice actors these days. We all have home studios and learn to be basic sound editors. I'm not a great audio engineer, but I know how to edit. What else do you need to know?
So you started 4 years ago. To me, that's just amazing, because the book was just amazing. The way that you read the book was just amazing. It sounds like you've been doing it for forever, but I think that's inspirational too, is where you look for this opportunity to expand all of your creative talents.
I'm very fortunate. And I also want to give a big shout out to John Marshall Media. They are the publisher of this audiobook. They are one of the best in the business to make audiobooks. I have to say, my producer, Kevin Stillwell, what an amazing guy to work with. And I'll just tell you a very quick story. When he asked me about this, there was another book that he wanted to give me too. I ended up doing both of them, but it was a really tight turnaround for the shorter one. Yeah. And when he sent me this one, he said, "But Evelyn, you have to do this book. I can't, you have to do this book." And so I was telling Heather before we started recording, I always read the books that I narrate ahead of time.
Yeah.
At least once. And had this one with me on vacation and just loved the story. So to your credit as the writer, we get to bring the stories to life. That's true. But if the story's really good to start with, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's harder when the writing's not as good.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll listen to audio. I'm like, this narrator is just amazing. Is the book as good as she's reading it?
I think that's the answer is no.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue to tell us about what your narration process is like. You mentioned that you read the book in advance.
Always. Partly because, especially if it's fiction, but even if it's nonfiction, I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
You know, because just to give you an example, let me think of a good one. One of the books I recently finished was a military thriller.
Okay.
And in some of the chapters, the author chose to switch between scenes quite a bit because there was a lot
Mm.
going on. And you would need to know ahead of time, oh, this is when so and so dies,
Oh, yeah.
so that you know when it's coming, because you don't want to be taken unawares. The other thing is, you need to be familiar with the story so you know what the arc is.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand that, you might narrate a chapter with the wrong attitude, the wrong
Mhm.
emotion, you might even do it, mistake one character for another character and do them wrong. That's happened to me.
Yeah.
So I always read the book just to read the book first. Then I go back through and identify characters, identify words that I don't know how to pronounce.
Mhm.
And there's a tool I use called Positron that helps me do that. You can feed the entire PDF of a book into this software, and it will flag words that aren't familiar. It will flag proper names.
Yeah.
It will give you a character list. It's a very, very, very valuable tool. A lot of narrators use it. And then
Mhm.
you also use it to proof at the end. You send
Mm.
your recording to it. It compares it to the PDF that was uploaded, and it will give you a pickup list. Pickups mean, by the way, it's an error in pronunciation,
Okay.
or a long pause, or a stumble, or very often you might clear your throat by accident, or anyway, something that you
Yeah.
wouldn't want in the recording. So that's what's called a pickup. Then I do chapter summaries,
Okay.
so that, because I don't narrate one whole book in one day, you can't.
Mhm.
I usually narrate between 2 and 3 hours at a time. It depends on how strenuous the book is.
Okay.
Sometimes I can do up to 5 hours a day, but generally I give myself a break each day because,
Yeah.
first of all, not only do you get physically tired, your brain gets tired too,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty visual when I read. So when I'm reading a book, there's a movie going on in my head,
Mhm.
and that's exhausting
Yeah.
if you do it for long enough. So I always take a break. And that's where the chapter summaries come in. And they're very helpful because if I do that, then I know, oh, I'm on chapter 5. What's happening in chapter 6? Oh, right. That's when
Mhm.
XYZ. It just helps you keep kind of a rhythm.
Yeah.
And then I will go back when I'm starting a new session. If I've been narrating, I'll go back and listen to a little bit of the book
Mhm.
that I've just finished, so that I make sure that my voice is a pretty close match. You can't do dead on.
Right.
Um, but you do want to, like, if a character, for example, is tired and you want to keep that,
Yeah.
you have to sound tired, right? Um, or if it's a battle scene and it's very exciting, you want to make sure that oh, you're right. We
Mhm.
just finished the battle scene. We gotta, okay. And then I do, between 3 and 5 chapters at a shot.
Yeah.
They get saved as individual chapter files. With John Marshall Media, luckily, I do not have to edit the files. I send them raw recording and then they do all that, which is
Okay.
lovely. That's not always true.
Yeah.
I have a few auditions out right now for a company where I have to edit them. So if I'm doing the editing, then
Mhm.
what I would do is take all of those raw files, upload them into Positron, have it run its pickup list. I go back and do the pickups, so corrections.
Right.
Then I take it into my editing software and edit any mouth sounds, like smacking of lips. And I
Mhm.
just have to say, every narrator does them. You cannot avoid them. We are human beings. If you're talking, you're going to make a noise. I'm just saying.
Right.
But sometimes they're really gross.
And the breathing between, I mean, there's breathing, but there's the
Yeah, you don't want to cut,
Yeah.
and you don't want huge intakes. It's actually okay and
Yeah.
preferred to leave the more subtle breaths in. But
Yeah.
sometimes you get a really big, like if you're doing a battle scene and you're narrating really quickly, I'm going to intake really fast. And when you
Mhm.
do that, it makes a bigger noise. So I go in and lower the sound level on those. I don't delete them completely
Yeah.
because I do think you need to leave the breaths in. But And then you upload them either to ACX, or some other companies have their own database
Mhm.
folder that you upload all your files to, whether they're raw or edited. And then they take care of distributing them, with the
Right.
exception of
Yeah.
ACX. Once you upload it to ACX, it's out there, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and gosh, what else do I tell you? I don't always highlight dialogue. I used to
Mhm.
do it all the time. I find that as I've gotten better at narrating, I don't have to do it every time. But
Yeah.
if it's a complex scene, like in this military thriller I mentioned earlier, I think there were 10 characters in a scene at one
Wow.
point,
Yeah.
either conference or something. And I want to make sure that I don't mistake one for
Yeah.
the other. It's easy to do. So I make sure everybody has a color. And
Yeah.
that way I know, oh, so and so is yellow. So whenever I see yellow, I know it's that character. Um, Depending on how complex the characters are, I might also do character studies,
Yeah.
where I just do quick, and sometimes the author provides these, which is lovely. Their vision of who the character really is.
Mhm.
Very helpful. But if that isn't provided, sometimes I'll go in and say, oh, yeah, okay, so this person is this age and younger and
Mhm.
male, female, this is the villain, this is
Right.
that kind of thing. Um,
I've been asked. I wasn't asked for this book, but there's been books when the publisher has asked me to send kind of a little character chart with
mhm,
descriptions and,
yeah,
because I think it does help to know this person is 20, not 65, and that would be a big difference.
right. Oh,
So,
yeah. Well, and you mentioned, Heather, that you like to listen to audiobooks. So
mhm.
do I. And one of my heroes did a scene in a magical realism book where
Yeah.
she had to narrate 3 elderly women in a
Wow.
conversation. They were all 3 in the same space and time,
Wow. Yeah.
and they all sounded different.
Wow.
It was
That's amazing.
astonishing, and I would replay the scene, I'm like, "How did she do that?" Because one was a ghost,
Yeah.
and the other 2
Of
were
course.
just really old witches.
Yeah.
But she managed, the conversation was totally clear, and I never got lost over who was speaking.
That is amazing.
It was
Do
amazing.
do you have kind of like a rubric or like a cheat sheet like, "Oh, this is a man, I've done a man this age," or, or maybe you have, like, different dialects you do. I know when you're Julia Child has some French in it and a little bit of German, so it was fun to hear you reading that as well. I just wonder if you kinda
Thank you.
had, like, a list of, "Okay, this character is gonna fit into this other voice that I've done a few times."
Yeah, actually I do. And that was a suggestion that was given to me by one of my audiobook coaches.
Mhm.
Because when you think about it, there are, Jungian archetypes that you can refer to, or
Yeah.
theatrical archetypes that you can refer to. Um, if I'm going to do, well, I'll reveal a trade secret. If I'm going to do a younger voice, don't laugh. I do this with my nose,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it changes the resonance in my head and it makes me
Yeah.
sound younger.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm going to do a man, I have about 4 male voices.
Mhm.
And it's usually because I have a kind of a lower register anyway, but I can drop it a little bit
Yeah.
and be quieter or slower
Yeah.
just to indicate that it's a man. I can't sound like a man because I'm
Yeah.
not.
And it sounds a little hokey when, like, a narrator tries to, like, cross over too much because
Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
the world and you're fine, it's someone reading the man, and you don't want it to, yeah, to have that huge, huge change.
yeah. Well, and you don't need to,
Yeah.
because, think about it. Well, the way I like to think of this is I am reading to you. I am
Right.
reading as a storyteller to you. So if I read a story to anybody, I
Mhm.
had the privilege of reading to my dad.
Oh, that's
when
neat.
he was toward the end of his life, because
Yeah.
he found it hard to read, but he
Mhm.
loved books and loved to read, and so we would spend a lot of time together, and he would give me, "Here's the one I'm reading now, honey."
Mhm.
And so if there were different characters in those books, I wouldn't necessarily even change my voice that much,
Yeah.
because the writing tells you so and so said. You don't really need to. But
Right.
some people kind of demand, and when I mean by people, I mean characters in the book. Some characters kind of
Mhm.
demand a little extra treatment. There was an urban fantasy I did where there was this horrible villain. It was a
Mhm.
horrible scene. It was a torture scene. Ugh.
Mhm.
And I decided to make him very polite
Yeah.
and very precise. Everything
Mhm.
he said, and he spoke very slowly, and it
Mhm.
was chilling.
Yeah.
When I
Creepy.
would go back and listen, I was like, "Oh my god." Even I'm
Yeah.
like, "Ah,
Yeah.
don't. Oh, he's awful." But yeah, I do have a list actually of, I have, fortunately, because I think because I'm a singer, but also I have trained in accents.
Mhm.
I do several kinds of British accents. I do Irish and German, and the military thriller, I had to learn how to do Australian and New Zealand and Serbian, and I
Mhm.
already had Russian. What was the other one? There was another one. There was another one where I had to do a tiny bit of Jamaican. That's hard for
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
And then for British, I do RP, Cockney, and neutral.
Mhm.
And I'm working on like Yorkshire, Manchester Northern, which is even harder because it's
Interesting.
very broad, and it doesn't work on an American face very well.
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of Great British Baking Show and listen to Allison because she's from Birmingham. She's
Wow.
got the
Yeah.
Brummie accent. She's go, "Bike," and the way she does her mouth, it's like, how do you do that? That's just amazing. Um, but then there's, yeah, different women. Like, are you a younger woman, an ingenue? You're gonna lighten
Mhm.
your voice, or are you the more mature,
Yeah.
um, wizened, you know, world weary mom, grandma, whatever? The reason we do that is you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every
Mhm.
time. You have a catalog, and the way it was advised us to do this, yeah, have a spreadsheet, has a sort of a description in the spreadsheet, but then also do
Mhm.
a sample recording,
Okay. Yeah.
about 30 seconds of them doing whatever. And when I started doing characters, I thought, okay, I'll just save a snippet of that. Ooh, that was a cool one. There was one I did. She was what was she? She was a fairy queen.
Mhm.
And I decided because of her name was Lady Sekhmet.
Hmm.
Well, Sekhmet is the Egyptian goddess of chaos, I
Huh.
think.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to give her a Middle Eastern accent. That's what I'm going to do. And I was lucky. My first husband, his brother-in-law was Iranian,
Oh, neat. Yeah.
and he had a beautiful Persian accent. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I just remembered, I tried the, okay, Ahmad, help me out,
Right.
Ahmad.
Yeah.
How would you say this word? And sometimes it's to do an accent, it's interesting to me. Sometimes it's just a little tweak
Mhm.
here or there with a consonant or a vowel, and suddenly you're talking in a different. It's fun, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I understand everything you're saying, but I cannot do accents. And anytime I've tried, it just sounds horrible. So
Well, and I can't do them all.
it's just yeah, but it's just your talent to be able to do it in the first place, and then also to learn and add more to your arsenal. It's just amazing.
I'm very fortunate. Like I say, a lot of it comes from singing because I sing in different languages, but
Mhm.
some of it also is the coaches that I work with. I have two
Yeah.
different coaches that help me with accents, and oh my gosh, are they talented? The one guy, Tom Antonellis is his name. He's
Mhm.
also a voice actor. He's really good, and he does a lot of animation and character work and stuff. But he has made a study of dialects. He can tell
Wow.
you what the actual phonetic pronunciation should be for a Birmingham A. It's like he can get that detailed.
Wow.
So to work with someone who has that kind of knowledge gives
Yeah.
you confidence so that when you go into doing it, you just do it. You don't even really think about it. You mark it up the way you need to, but then you just do it and it just sort of comes out that way. Every once in a while I have to go back and fix stuff, but
Yeah.
so I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of resources that I rely on. It's not just me.
Yeah. So I have one more question. I don't
Sure.
want to keep you too long, but
No, whatever.
when you are preparing to narrate a book, so for instance, for Julia, that was, I think it was close to 400 pages.
Mhm,
And you said you'll record maybe 2 or 3 hours a day.
mhm.
So is this like a 2-week project? Is it a 1-week project?
Um, Let me think how long Julia took me. I tried to do, I think it was between 4 and 5 chapters because some of them were a little short.
Mhm.
Not all of them were long. I want to say 2, 3 weeks
Mhm. And do you kind of build in breaks as well, maybe to rest your voice?
daily. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, like today,
Mhm.
I have a project I want to get out that's going to be just a 5-minute recording
Yeah.
of a children's book. So no big deal.
Yeah.
Um, when I finished the military thriller, that was on a kind of a tight schedule because of my travel schedule.
Mhm.
We had some travel this summer, and I committed to a deadline. And as I worked backwards, I realized, okay, to finish
Mhm.
this book, you have to do 3 chapters a day. Because if you don't,
Yeah.
you're never going to meet your deadline.
Yeah.
So I would do at least 2 hours, see where I got. If the 3 chapters were done, I could stop if I wanted to.
Yeah.
If I felt like I could go on and my voice was still not tired, I would go ahead and do it. But
Mhm.
then I stop. I save the files, and I would always obviously stop at the
Yeah.
end of a chapter. I would never stop in the middle, and go do something else.
Mhm.
There's lots of other things that I have to do as I'm running this business. But if I were on a really tight schedule, I would say, I would narrate for 2.5, 3 hours, give myself 30 minutes to an hour, and go back.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works for me. That's pretty typical, but it's very personal for different narrators too. It sort of depends on what their background is. Fortunately, being a singer, I know a lot more than some about breath control and where to place the sound and all those kinds of things so I don't
Mhm.
damage my voice. The other thing is, I'm very fortunate in that my voice hasn't changed that much
Hmm.
over the years. I've
Yeah.
always had this kind of low register. And I don't think I sound my age. So I'm lucky that way. Some
Yeah.
people have different kinds of voices
Yeah.
and they get more tired more quickly.
Or
It's
maybe because their voice sounds just young all the time or older, like you kind of get pigeonholed into certain books.
Yeah, I could see. Well, and to give you a great example, I don't do a lot of young adult.
Mhm.
And I've had more than one voiceover coach say, yeah, nobody's going to believe you. Except, and maybe this is just because I knew the author. I don't know. About 2.5 years ago, I met an author, bought a couple trilogies from him, tore right through them. Really
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
urban fantasies, really great stories. And he wrote a retelling of The Christmas Carol,
Oh, interesting.
told
Yeah.
from the perspective of a 17-year-old, forgive the word, bitchy girl.
Yeah.
Now, she has a reason. She's had some tragedy in her life, but she's just horrible.
Yeah.
But she's a 17-year-old girl.
Right.
And I was like, oh,
How am I going to
can
do
I
that?
do this? Because I really wanted to. And I think it turned out great. He's happy. It's actually up on Amazon now. The book is
Mhm.
called Carol by Darren Kennedy. It's a great story. And that is a young adult kind of,
Yeah.
because the main
Yeah,
character
for
is a
sure.
teenager.
Yeah.
But I've tried others, and it's just, first of all, young adult is written differently.
Yeah.
And I'm just I'm too old.
Yeah.
I
I
just
hear
don't.
you.
It's like, I'm not a millennial. I just don't. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be different. I mean, everything would be different. The mood, the voice, the
Yeah, yeah, and I
dialogue,
just
the
don't relate.
attitudes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
relate, and it was funny, I did a sample for somebody, and they listened to it, and they were like, "Oh, I bet you're fine," and then they listened to it, and she's like,
No, not quite what I'm
"Yeah,"
looking
she
for.
said, "You did a great job," she said, "but
Yeah.
yeah, young adults probably not for you." And I don't do a lot of children's books, although, depending on the story, I guess it would work.
Because
The
it's
one I'm
like
working
you're being read, is it the child that they're being read to by a parent
a
or
parent.
a
Yeah, I
grandparent
guess that
or
would work.
a teacher? So,
Yeah, I guess that would work.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
thank you so much, Evelyn. It's been just a delight talking to
What a
you
treat.
and hearing from you.
It's always a privilege for any narrator to meet the author. We don't normally get to. We usually are a couple of layers away from the
Yeah.
authors. And I have to say, I have been on your website. I have downloaded my free books. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Can't wait to read them. I love that you write historical fiction. I don't know if you know the book Jackdaws.
Uh-uh.
I think it's Ken Follett who wrote it, and it's
Okay.
kind of along the same lines as your what's the one about the pilots?
Oh, Lady Flyer.
Lady Flyer, that's it.
Mhm.
So Jackdaws was a similar unit, and it was mostly
Okay.
women. It's historically accurate, but he embellished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love books like that, or alternate histories, or
Mhm.
oh, can't wait. So I'm very excited. As I was looking at your website earlier today, I was like, oh, look at all this cool stuff. I can't wait to
Awesome.
read more. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Anyway, what a treat to talk to you. Thank you so much for asking to do this. Yeah, go buy her
Well,
books,
thank
guys.
you. Well, thank you. I hope everyone gets a chance to either listen to Julia or one of Evelyn's other works. You will not regret it. It'll be a
Oh, thank
wonderful
you.
read
Thank
and
you.
possible reread or re-listen, I guess.
Thank you very, very
Thank
much.
you so much. I hope everyone has a great day.